everyone. It is February 27th, 2019. I hope everybody's doing great tonight. I see some of you there. Ann and Tracy, Laura, Nana, Layla, Jasmine, Carol. Thanks for everyone. It is tuned in tonight. I guess some of you were waiting. I just had to do a couple things. Actually, what I was doing, I can tell you this, is I was listening to part of the recording for Friday's episode. I'm working on it this evening. I was recording my part of it, which is like the first 7 minutes. And I just got through listening to it, making sure it sounds okay before I started this show. Jessica, how are you? Jessica was also in on Sunday nights. Thanks, Jessica. Christina, she's also from Sunday nights from the Patreon show. And Justina, thank you so much for your generosity. I got your email, and Cherie is here. She's going to be the censor, I guess you'd say, Cherie. Of course, commentator and contributor. But during these live shows, she helps me out in keeping track of the trolls and then blocking them and eventually deleting them. So, Cherie, I'm glad you could make it here on time. I knew said you were doing a couple things this evening. But Justina, thank you for your contribution. I did get your email. Going to be getting some things to you tomorrow. LaFord and Heather, Tracy, and yeah, everybody's in here tonight. Great. Kelly, Oakley Fight Club, what's up? Thank you all for making time on this Wednesday night. It's been a little dreary here in Madeira Beach. Been raining a lot. We went several days with no rain, and now we've had 2 days where it's been almost no, I can't say that. Earlier today, it was nice. This morning, it was nice. And then it started raining, and I don't think it's raining out there now, but it's been a little dreary. Yes, Kelly, you're on time. Good job. Penny, howdy. I appreciate that, Justina. Thank you for offering up your services. And Ann, I was pledging to the $12 level, then the YouTube popped up. Well, and, we do this, of course, this show on Wednesday night is totally free. You don't need a YouTube account, Facebook account, anything. You can watch on your phone, whatever. But I do a show on Sunday nights that is for particular Patreon people. And it's that way so I can keep the group very small. I think we had maybe 7 viewers on Sunday night. And it gets me to have a little bit more one-on-one with people, which I enjoy. So, Ann, if you're considering that, I deeply appreciate it. Blaze, what's up? Susan, Sharon, yeah. You can't always steal the sunshine. I share with the rest of us. Didn't see much of the sun the last couple days. But I hear what you're saying. Otherwise, I'm not coughing as much. I'm not sniffling as much. I'm not coughing up as much mucus. I'm feeling a lot better. February, since I moved to Florida, has always been very bad for allergies. Very, very bad. But the weird part is that the last few years, it's been the side effect of my allergies has been asthma. No asthma this year at all. Instead, I just have all this stuff in my lungs that keeps coming up. I know that's exactly why you tuned in tonight. It's just weird how it changed from one year to the next. Very strange. And I want to be in the special yellow bus, peeps. Well, if that's the way you want to put it, Ann, then you can get on Sunday nights. Thank you so much. Deeply appreciated. Oakley, how can you donate? You can become a Patreon member, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. Or you can do a one-time contribution through PayPal, and we can make that work too. So totally up to you. PayPal account is Unfound Podcast. It's the email, unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for considering. Yeah, I got your reply, Justina. Thank you. And Bree, what's going on tonight? So I'm feeling really good. I think once another week, I'll be feeling really 100%. I haven't felt 100% this whole month. Really, I haven't felt 100% since I was back in Pennsylvania. But I'm seeing my personal trainer, kind of let myself go in 2018, and he's been kicking my butt. I've had 7 sessions with him, and I think I'm going to keep him for a while. I think I am. I'm glad I did it. It's like 2 sessions a week, an hour each, which is good. But for those hours, he really pushes me, and that's exactly what I need because, like I said, I really kind of let myself go a little bit in 2018. There's just something that there's a way I visualize myself and how I should look, and I kind of slipped away from that. Yeah, there's some ands in here tonight. We got an AW, we got another AW, and then we got an ANNE. That's very interesting. Okay, great. I'm great. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And Cherie, thank you for watching out for the trolls. The Deborah Asbury poll from last Friday's episode. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised that a majority of you in the group, if you're in the group, you should be. If you're not in the discussion group on Facebook, you should be there. A majority of you said yes, that you do believe that Homer Purdue is responsible for Deborah Asbury's disappearance. I guess I can't be too surprised by that. However, I would like to say also, though, that quite a few said that you're not sure. And that was one of the options. It was yes, he is, no, he isn't, or you're really not sure. Quite a few people also said they weren't sure. And I think that that's probably a good choice as well. I think that if I were picking, I might go yes, especially considering some of the things that came out for the first time in the interview. But I realize that maybe it's not so good to be so quick to judge. We're just presenting the facts. And Homer is a person that's been kept out of the facts for 25 years. And I'm so happy that Courtney and I could talk about that aspect of the case in her interview. Oakley says, I'm a gym rat. Yeah, I used to be a gym rat. That's what I need to get back to, Oakley. Only one Dino. That's true. And says, I worked with a trainer when I played pro football. She kicked my buttocks. You played pro football? And I got to hear that story. Please type it in the comment section when you played pro football. Football is in soccer, or I want to hear that story if you could. Unchained Melody. How are you tonight? Nicely done with the fancy letters. Bree, it's crazy how many murders just happen and nobody gets charged. It's crazy to think thousands of people are missing too. True, Bree. Marcus says, I wasn't sure of Homer's involvement, but it's something that should definitely be considered. Marcus, I think that's the way a lot of people feel. I think. I don't know how many people were familiar with Deborah's disappearance before we covered it. I don't know that. But of those people who were familiar with it beforehand, I think that they did learn some things about this guy that maybe they had never heard before. But of course, nobody that had heard of her disappearance before, then hearing about her and Homer and Andy and Tracy, all of it is new. So I guess it just depends on how much you knew about the case beforehand. Ed, thoughts on Momo Challenge? Just concerned who is behind this and how to stop it. Katrina, I really talked about that last week, unfortunately. In fact, this is the where kids go missing for 48 hours? Is that what it is? Am I misconstruing that or something? Because I think I did talk about that last week. And you should probably watch last week's videos. Am I getting that right? Momo Challenge. I just knew it as a 48-hour challenge, but I could be wrong. No, it's wrong. It's some video telling things to do bad things. If it's something other than that 48-hour challenge, I don't know what it is, unfortunately. Being that I don't have kids, I really don't keep up on these types of things. The only reason I even knew about the 48-hour challenge is because it has to do with kids choosing to go missing on purpose. So anything outside of that, getting kids to eat Tide Pods and everything, I am so on the periphery of that, I can't really comment. Heather, I really don't know about any of this. I'll just be honest. I'm sure if I was a parent, I would. But no, unfortunately, I can't comment on it. It sounds horrible, as a lot of things are on the internet, unfortunately. It sounds horrible. I don't know what else needs to be said about that, but if that's the way it is, if it's telling kids to do bad things, it tells kids to hurt themselves, then kill themselves. It's on kids' YouTube. Sounds horrible. Of course. I don't know what else I could say about it, but I'm not familiar with it at all. So I don't know. Something I do want to bring up, and I'm going to mention this. This is going to be part of the Unfound news section in the episode on Friday. As you probably realize, if you've been around Unfound for a while, a lot of new listeners. As I keep saying, Unfound's listenership went up 40% in 2018. Very impressive. Just could not be more pleased. I mean, really. And then in the group, we have like 4,500 members in the private group now. I think the page has like 4,700 likes or something like that. And I've started to get requests for cases that aren't missing persons cases. And I just want to tell all of you, if you are a person who is just watching this for the first time or not, I've only listened to a couple Unfound episodes so far. If you're going to be watching this later or right here live, Unfound only covers missing persons cases, people who have gone missing, who haven't been found. Okay, that is it. That's the way it will always be. I feel so good that people contact me with some of these other types of cases thinking that Unfound can help. But I'm not going to get out of the demographic, the niche that I do. Okay, I'm not going to do that. There are other places that are covering serial killers and missing and unsolved murders and conspiracies and things. There's plenty of people doing that. I would urge you to go to those places. They do a fine job with it. You should contact them. All I do is missing persons cases, and that's the way it's always going to be. Unfound, as I've said recently, Unfound is going to be around for a long time. And that's all we're going to do is missing persons cases. Christina says, Christina says, I used to be a gym rat. Now I do yoga. Okay. That works for people too. I will Google Momo challenge after we're done here, Justino. It sounds horrible, but I'll do it. Anne says she did play football for the Maine Freeze. Gridiron, full contact. The rules went side by side, except we only needed 1 foot in bounds for reception. I did cardio 5 days a week, and my coaches told me to stop. I've never heard of that, and it must be a women's leg. I'm, of course, familiar with, the women's football that is out there, but I've never heard of the Maine Freeze and think that's okay. Thank you for explaining, Ann. Thank you. Told me to stop losing weight, but I would have been plastered on the turf if I hadn't worked out constantly. My size was 5'2", 140. Yeah, and a little small out there. Okay, I'm glad you didn't get too hurt, I guess. Katrina, Ed, this is very concerning to a lot of families. Very important for parents to know. Sorry to bring up something that you're not aware of. It sounds horrible, but, Katrina, it sounds horrible, but, we do missing persons cases here. And I don't want to talk about something that I'm not familiar with. Okay, I try to stay away from that. Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jessica. Thank you, Justino. A lot of compliments going on out there tonight, folks. Yes, women's football. Okay, interesting. Karen just joined. Love your work, but I don't get downloads of your recent works on Fridays or any days, Ed. Well, Karen, what are you logged on? How are you trying to listen? Are you using iTunes, Podomatic, Stitcher, Podbean? I'd need to know more. Maybe you need to contact me afterwards. Tracy asked, any updates on the Jeff Nichols case? I know that there was that recent article, Tracy, that was written. I don't know what's come of it. I really don't. That must have been about 10 days ago that happened. I don't I don't have any news. I've not talked to Wanda to see if, anything has come of that. So I don't know. But just one more, once again, Unfound. I realize that people want me to help over here and over there. I get it. And I appreciate it. If people think that I can help on any sort of thing, it really makes me feel good. But Unfound, just by the name Unfound, we're looking for missing people here. A variety of different kinds of missing persons cases, but missing persons cases exclusively. So, Marcus, have you ever considered being a private investigator, Ed? I have thought about getting my license. I have. That's true. I have. Have not yet. And, I don't know how much it would add to doing this program. It might add in things in other ways, but I've certainly considered it, Marcus. Yes. So the simple answer is yes, I have considered it. Hello, Pamela. I'm going to get to your question here very shortly, Pamela. Thanks for tuning in. Unchained Melody, have you heard of the Wendy Huggy case in Holiday, Florida? I have not. Bree, any updates on the Clashendra Hall case? She's the first case I listened to. No, although there was a post in the discussion group just within the last couple weeks in which I tagged Laurel, her mother. So I continue to believe in that case, and unfortunately, this was, I think, a big miss on Unfound's part, that somehow we missed that the Amos guy had an older son that was around Clashendra's age. And he has a record. He has an extensive record since she disappeared way back in, 1994. And somehow Laurel and I missed that. But I believe that he would be a good guy to talk to, and I forget his name right now. Omar, I think his name's Omar Amos. He would be a good guy to talk to about Clashendra's disappearance, I think. Thank you, Justino. I don't know about Aya Randall. Small abducted as her father slept. I don't. When is the next update episode due? Cherie is asking. That's a good question. Probably this summer, Cherie. I'm thinking this summer. I will make it a yearly summer program, maybe around July. How about that? Bree says, I really believe the doctor did it. He was shady. Yes, they are. Hey, all. Hello, Shelly. In Clashendra's case, you're right, Bree. It's very easy to think that the doctor did it, but as soon as I found out, and I forget how I found out now, it was a couple months after the episode came out, that he had an older son that I don't think Laurel even knew about it. If you were to look up Omar Amos, and it's with 2 R's, so it's Omarr Amos. If you could do a search for him, you'll see what I mean. So being that Pamela's in here, I want to answer her question. Let me go down here for a second. She has a good question. Pamela asked, how long does it take to put a show together? It depends, Pamela. But I would say the average person, from the first time I talk to them to the completion of the interview, is probably between messenger and emails and actually talking on the phone. I would say that we put in about 5 hours of work, probably on that alone. Then as far as writing the script, the first 7 minutes of the program, and then doing the end, and then editing the audio, and then recording it and all of that. I think it's probably between 18 and 20 hours per episode. Probably. I think that's a pretty honest, and then considering all the other things that I do, doing some research on people that the guest might bring up, and then Emily's doing some things looking at criminal records and things. I'd say it's a good 20 hours per episode between recording, reading, writing and everything else. I think that's pretty close. Now, some are more. Thomas Brown's case, way more than that. Way more than that. Aaron Barnard's case, way more than that. Certainly. And then you could add to that anytime there's been like a disappeared episode, and that's the case that I'm going to be doing myself for Unfound. I'll watch that episode a couple times. So that can add on to the total time it takes to put an episode together. But I would say about 20 hours is the average. I would say so. So there's going to be some that maybe only 15 hours. But then there's going to be some like Thomas Brown's. I mean, I spent, I don't know, 10 hours, just watching video that Penny sent me. So it just depends. But it's a good question. I don't know how that compares to other podcasts and other things. The difference is that, when you don't do interviews and you're planning to do a 45-minute program, and if you're by yourself, that's a lot of writing, that's a lot of recording, that takes time. No doubt about it. It's not easy. For me, between myself, Cherie, Emily, anybody else who brings cases to the program or works on it and does research here and there, that's where most of the work for Unfound, that's where a lot of the hours are caught up. The recording part of it is the shorter part, in contrast to other kinds of podcasts where they don't do interviews. Then their recording is the large, that's everything. The writing and recording is everything. For Unfound, because we have a little bit of a different format, I take my time up doing different things. So there you go. I hope that answers that question, Pamela. And once again, sometimes that 20 hours can be stretched out over like 3 months. It just depends how quickly episodes can come together. Like last week when I had a guest back out of an interview, and then Courtney came in and was ready to do an interview. That particular episode, all those hours were scrunched up, very closely. Other ones, the hours are stretched out over a longer period of time. Hello, Angela. And that significant time, I guess, maybe. Hey, there's Joyce Rivatuzo, everyone. Hello, Joyce is in the house. Karen, what Cherie is saying as the Unfound podcast person, she is right. The Unfound episodes are not released automatically on YouTube because I have to put pictures to them, and that takes time. I try to keep updated as much as I can. In fact, maybe I'll work on that a little bit this weekend. But those YouTube videos do not come out at the same time that the audio program does. So there's that. Thanks, Pamela. I'm glad that answered your question. And Anne asked, do you transcribe the disappeared episodes? I'm in school and rather read a transcription than watching the video, but you do watch the video one time through. Yeah, I just watch them. I find them online and just watch the disappeared episodes of especially if I'm covering that case. Yes. So yeah, I don't think I've ever read a transcript from a disappeared episode. So that answers Pamela's question. Very happy to do that. I had a chance, Cherie, I don't know. Let's talk about this a little bit. Maybe all of you will like this. And I've been meaning to bring this up. Cherie had asked me to finally watch the movie Gone Baby Gone. Took me a while. Cherie knows, she told it to me to watch it like last summer. And then I finally got around to watching it, I'm going to say about a month ago, and I haven't brought it up. I finally got to watch it. And it was good. Cherie and I had a really good discussion about it. It's a good missing persons case. What happened to this little girl? And I'm not going to give any of the plot away or anything like that. A lot of great actors in it. Morgan Freeman, Ed Harris, Casey Affleck. His girlfriend, whoever she was, I forget her name, the actress's name, but she also played Tom Cruise's wife in the Mission Impossible movies. Good movie. However, I have to say that, and I've talked about this before, if I would ever be involved in any sort of TV show or movie regarding a script that had anything to do with a missing person, I don't know if I could be involved in something like that, because it's not, it's a movie. It's not really portrayed of what really happens in real life. I mean, to me anyway, the plot in Gone Baby Gone is a little out there. I'm not saying it's preposterous. There are a lot of things in it that could happen and have happened in real life. But, if I was going to be involved in a movie or a TV show that had to do with the missing persons every week, or a 2-hour, of course, movie, it would need to be something that's a little more realistic, I think, than that movie. It's a good movie, though. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. A lot of great acting. I thought Ben Affleck, who directed it, did a great job. Interesting plot. Really some good, really gets you thinking about missing persons cases. It does. And the role that, little girl is, kidnapped, and you find out that her mother isn't, let's just put it, she's not going to win any Mom of the Year awards. Carrie, it is on Netflix. Yes, it is. Yeah, it is on there. And that's how I got to watch it. So I just wanted to mention that. I should have probably mentioned when I watched it, but I forgot about it. And Cherie had really bugged me to watch it for a while. Then I did, and we had a good discussion about it. And, it'll be interesting if any of you do watch it and haven't seen it. There's going to be a question at the end about what the right thing to do was. And it'll be interesting if any of you want to contact me and you tell me, watch it. I'd be interested to see what you think about the ending to the movie and if the right choice was made. Yeah. So there you go. Ann says, I think the Unfound formula works well. I think so too. Ann, thank you. Oakley wants to know, Ed, will you be attending CrimeCon in June? No. I will not be there. I've had to talk about this before. I mean, the last, when CrimeCon came up in 2017, I talked about it. When CrimeCon came up in 2018, I talked about it. 2019. It's really not my scene. It's not. I love meeting people. I love talking with all of you. I love the one-on-one, but going there and the conferences and, all of these things, I think it's great for listeners. I just, I don't know. I guess the way I think about it, what I do, we don't need conventions. There's not, I don't know. I just don't know. It just seems a little strange to me. Can I say that and not offend anybody? I know a lot of people like to go there and rub shoulders, and a lot of listeners like to gather. I think it's great for that. But what I do, I don't see it something that is worth a convention. I personally would rather stay here and talk to people on the phone and work on episodes and, try to research things and everything. That's what I do. That's what I do. And that's what Emily does. That's what Cherie does. That's what other people who volunteer behind the scenes to do things. And I think I'll just stick to doing that. And I think the other thing is that I'm not a big fan of some of these people who are there. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of Nancy Grace. I'm just not. I think she's a sensationalist. Just plain and simple. Plain and simple. And some of these others who I just don't take a lot. I know a lot of you do. I just don't take a lot of the people seriously, who are these well-known people and everything. simply because now I've been doing this for 2.5 years. And to me, it's not about the thing, you know, and it just seems to me too many of these people want to make themselves the story. Nothing pleases me more when I can do an interview and barely talk at all. And, you know, we're just, me and the guest are just, you know, syncing it up so much. They know where the interview is going, and I'm just there to guide it. I'm perfectly willing to let the guest be the star of the episode because they're the people that know things. You know, when I think about conventions and going to something like that, you know, it makes me feel like, you know, am I supposed to be some sort of celebrity or something? And I'm not. I'm not. I am not. I'm just a reporter. I'm just an investigator, like a lot of other people out there. All right, regular people like all of you. Karen, let me see, just catch up here. Thank you. Katrina says, I think you did a really good job in the Brown case. Thank you. This is the reason I watch you. Thank you. Carrie, Gone Baby Gone is on Netflix. Karen, loved your interview with Peggy and her twin sister interview. The mom was wonderful. Well, Joyce is in here. Karen, Joyce Rivatuzo's in them. Why don't you say hi to her? Joyce is watching tonight. She always watches. She's great. I love Joyce. So if you'd like to say hi to Joyce, Karen, she's in here. Almost training manuals. Okay. I don't know where that Carrie. I checked it out. Looks pricey. Oh, yes. For CrimeCon. That's the other thing. You know, it's cheap if you want to. It's not cheap if you want to go. I just, you know, once again, I can't imagine anybody, like you said, it's not cheap. I can't imagine anybody paying a lot of money to go see something or like to meet me, or of course I'd have to pay too, but to meet me or see me speak or anything, that just is, I don't know. I do this for free. And the people who get to watch on Sunday nights, you know, it's $12 a month, you know, and they get much more one-on-one time than they'd ever get going to CrimeCon or something if I were there. So, you know, thank you, Cherie. No, Nana says, nope, not a fan. I'm guessing of Nancy Grace. Ty Tet, can you give me a shout out? There's your shout out, Ty Tet. Shout out to Ty Tet. And you will have to make a professional introduction at some point. Okay. Marcus, really good question here. It's a tough one. How do the police determine if foul play is involved in a disappearance? It's tough, Marcus. Depends on every case. You know, my big problem with police who are on the scene first is they too often default that the person's going to come back. I realize why they do that because most times people do come back. But if it were me and I was a police officer who showed up at the scene, what I've learned after 2.5 years is the first thing I would ask, is there anybody in your sister's, brother's, child's, father's, parents', daughter's life that would want to harm her or him? That would be the first question. And if the answer is yes, I would be, can you give me those names? I'll go check it out real quick. Do you have their numbers? Maybe you have their numbers. Let's give them a call to see where they are right now. That's what I would do. Once again, depending on the circumstances, but it seems like a good idea. Cops don't do that. They don't. They, just like in Jennifer Kessy's case, they told her parents, she'll be coming back. You know, whereas she's a professional young woman, educated, good job, you know, moving up in a company, everything. And then they're trying to say, yeah, she just walked off. She'll be back. She went off with some guy. She'll be back. Jennifer Kessy, for example, was not the type of woman who was going to blow off work for a guy. Okay? That's what I mean. Full Metal. Nancy Grace. Okay. Yeah. Hello, Tanya. Tanya says some of your shows say I can't watch them where I live. I don't know anything about that, Tanya. I don't know, where do you live? They're all PG. There's no restriction on them. Layla says, that's why I like you, Ed. So many podcasters are in love with the sound of their own voice. Half their show is trying to be clever and failing miserably. If you say so, Layla. As you know, I don't have time to listen to a lot of other shows. Oh, there's Joyce. See, Karen, I told you Joyce is in here. Where can we contact you about what? Taylor, about what? Are you talking to me? Katrina says, your voice is now instilled in my head. If you called me, I would need no introduction. Oh, okay. Okay. Blaze says, I could see if there were classes to learn for that price. Pay to be a fangirl? Nah. Yeah. Carrie says, each situation is different with missing persons cases. A lot of people, different things come into play to make that determination. It's tough. It's tough. Thoughts? Do you have any thoughts or opinions on Maura Murray case for 2004 and any latest developments? Unfortunately, thoughts, we talked about that last week or maybe even the week before. I urge you to go to the Unfound YouTube channel and watch it. We talked about it. I talked about it with everybody who was watching quite extensively. I'm not going to get into it again tonight. Carrie, one of the first things we did is see if they had ex partes, full protections against them. That's a good idea too. And Katrina, there was a shooting in Texas recently where a man and a wife with 6 kids were shot in their own home. Guess who it was? The brother of the man that was shot. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about Gone Baby Gone. We talked a little bit about Crime Con. Just giving you my opinions. I'm sure if the people who put Crime Con together hear what I had to say about them, they aren't going to like me very much. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just a different type of person, I guess. I think the difference, and I've told some listeners privately who've contacted me maybe about Crime Con or something, is that there was a time in my life where I was, got a lot of attention. Not just myself, but the people that I worked with. I worked in acting. I was an actor at Star Trek The Experience for 4.5 years. People traveled from all around the world just to come to Las Vegas and watch us beam them up into space, all the Trekkies and everything else. I was a part of that. And it was great. They wanted to get pictures with you. They wanted your autograph and everything. That's what it means to be a performer, okay? Just like, some singer, rock star, all these things. I get that, okay? I get that because we are in a particular profession where attention is needed for us. This isn't what Unfound is. It's not. So I've seen that stuff and it's great. Love it. Love it. It's great. But this isn't what I do here. And so when I get together with people, I want to talk to them about, solutions, what we do here. Let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about solving cases. And what do we have to do that? And, instead of, going somewhere where, people are going to be showing up and kind of putting people on a pedestal and everything, I'm just not interested in that. Because I did that. I know, what I did. This is serious stuff that we're doing. It's serious. And it's serious enough that I don't know if it deserves conventions. Just me. So there you go. Silver, is he talking about a case or just answering questions? I'm answering whatever questions are thrown at me, Silver Sage. If you got in late, somebody asked me about Crime Con. That's what I was talking about. Did you see that the smiley face people were on Dr. Phil? And all of my attitudes on that they were on Dr. Phil, I think, just within the last couple weeks. I can't figure it out. Once again, this is a situation kind of like Crime Con. This smiley face killer thing has been going on for over 10 years. These guys have time to go on, do TV shows, go on Dr. Phil, all these other things. Why aren't they out there trying to recruit people If they believe that there are people riding around and abducting young men who are drunk and throwing them in the water, why are they spending time doing TV shows? Why aren't they out recruiting people, GoFundMe page, whatever else they can do to pay people to go out there and try to catch these people instead of doing Dr. Phil? To my knowledge, they're not doing anything that is actually stopping something they believe that exists. Now, I would say the reason they're not doing it is because they really don't believe in it. But they were on Dr. Phil. So there you go. Let's talk about a little bit of news. And I want to give a shout out to former guest of the program, Lee Clifton, who continues to do a great job reporting on the disappearance of Kelly Rothwell. Kelly Rothwell, I think, was the 4th, 5th, 6th case Unfound ever covered. And Lee was on the program. She lives near me. We've met, once or twice, I think. But the main suspect in that case is a guy named David Perry. Well, he now is back in jail again for violating the conditions of his parole. And so I hope that, and it could be, I was texting back and forth with her earlier today, that it could be that David Perry could be in jail to at least now the year 2026 for other things having nothing to do with Kelly's disappearance, which happened only about 8 miles in that direction from where I live. But I urge you all to go to TampaBayTrueCrimeReport.com to find out the latest, because Lee's doing a great job there. If you are unfamiliar with Kelly Rothwell's case, if you're new to the program, just go find it on YouTube or Podomatic. It's posted. It's a 2-parter because it's long. And you can listen to me interview Lee about, how she got involved in Kelly Rothwell's disappearance. It's a disappearance from 2011, and how she has been so dogged in making David Perry's life as miserable as possible. She's great. Love it. You wish that every case had a person like Lee Clifton on it. I mean, she's that good. She's that hard. She's that tough. So good. So, and she posted in the group. So I'd urge you to check out the latest on David Perry, and then also go to TampaBayTrueCrimeReport.com to check out what she's been writing there regarding everything regarding David Perry and the disappearance of Kelly Rothwell. So I wanted to talk about that because that's a case. It's some new news on a case that Unfound covered a long time ago now, like 110 cases ago. Hard to believe. It's just crazy. Just crazy. Karen, Joyce, where can I connect you, Joyce? Just hearing your voice makes me feel for family. There you go, Joyce. Why don't you two talk with Karen? LaFord Girl says, Dr. Phil's another one I don't roll with. I heard about how he handles desperate families looking for the loved one, totally hoses them. LaFord Girl, that's exactly what I've been told too. That's what I've been told. Carrie says, Marianne and I are planning on meeting up. So excited. Okay, excellent program. Katrina, Ed, another thing that's concerning to me is a lot of people are showing up dead in Texas lakes, mainly Austin. Thoughts? Without looking at the specific cases, Katrina, I really can't say. I'm going to say what I continue to say about, young men who are drunk ending up in water dead. It doesn't surprise me that drunk people can't swim. I don't know what else to tell you. It doesn't surprise me. People who are inebriated, they do all sorts of things they shouldn't. Drive cars, fly planes, go swimming in rivers, operate machinery, jackhammers. They do all sorts of things and get themselves hurt or killed, because their brain isn't working 100%. That's what I'm always going to dismiss these cases to, no matter what they may say. I think at this point, there's a lot of confirmation bias going on in the smiley face killer phenomenon. Well, you have to remember that Texas has a lot of missing murder people. Well, there's a lot of people in Texas. It's the second most populated state. Justina, white men can't jump and drunks can't swim. That's right. Thoughts? Ed, I went back and found your mention of the Mara Murray info, but maybe you're not aware that even newer developments, the responding officer just killed himself last Thursday. I know that. And thoughts, I'm just going to stay away from it. I am not going there. I do not believe in any conspiracies regarding Mara Murray's disappearance. I'm not an expert on the case. I'm not. But from what I've read and, James Renner and all of them, there's nothing that can convince me otherwise that she wrecked, knew she was drinking and driving, gathered up as much stuff as she could, and took off because she didn't want to get caught drinking and driving. There's nothing else that convinces me otherwise. Why? Because a lot of people do that, wreck their car drunk, and they leave the scene of the accident. It's happening all the time until I see something different. Hey, Jill, what's going on? I haven't answered your question yet. Yes, he did commit suicide. I mean, Layla, that is a fact. Okay, let's not. No, that is a fact. He did commit suicide. I saw the news. It's same thing with Jeff Castleton in Canadian. Once again, there is nothing that I've seen that connects Jeff Castleton's suicide, if it was a suicide, to Thomas Brown's murder. Nothing that I've heard yet. And I will continue to say that until somebody presents me believable information that's not somebody just with an agenda or a rumor or I heard, I saw, somebody told me something. So I realize that when, somebody like an officer commits suicide like that, it gets the rumor mill spinning. And I don't try to do that because I get sick on things that spin. Merry-go-rounds, carousels, I get sick on them, so I try to stay off of them. Susan says he also had a serious health condition. If that's true, I feel bad. That's too bad. Let's answer Jill's question. Jill's question was, what do I feel about parental abductions? In regards to missing persons cases. I don't, I know, I guess this mainly would be, women maybe who are in abusive relationships, have children, and then they get out. I have to believe that it's never a good thing when a parent, takes off with their child or children, takes off and then disappears and tries to start a new life in another state, in another country. There of course probably aren't any studies done on that, but there's just something about it that feels wrong. And, and I know men do it too. You go into Charlie Project, you're going to see some guys who took their kids and left and disappeared too. All right. So it works both ways. I feel the same about it either way. It's not good. I think that in this day and age that there are a lot of groups and organizations and nonprofits and everything who are here to help. I think more than ever, we are aware of the abuse that goes on behind the scenes, especially men hurting women, both mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually. More than ever. It's not perfect. We can always do better. But taking kids and leaving that, leaving other family, the good family behind, grandparents who've never done anything wrong and everything, it seems quite selfish to think that, a parent's going to yank their, we're going to have a new life somewhere and it's going to be great. I'm taking you away. It just doesn't seem right. And I realize there's going to be a story, a unique situation, everything, but just in general, I think there are better ways to handle these things. Because, are the parents really keeping their kids? Are they really doing it in their kids' best interests? What happened if that kid grows up to be 13, 14, starts cruising around and finds out that his name's really not Dave Brown. It's really Joe Smith. And and he's wondering why, he doesn't have any grandparents or anything. And then he finds out that his mother took off with him and his grandparents are looking for it. What's that going to do to that young person's emotional makeup? And I know the mother or father, I'm not picking on either gender or anything like that, any kind of parent. I don't know if there's any good explanation that could ever make a kid understand that. Well, your father was abusive, your mother was abusive, or your mother, she was getting her parents and trying to. I realize it, and and I don't have kids, so maybe it's easy for me to talk. It just doesn't seem right, and there's reason, there are laws against it. There's reasons. Police officers have a high suicide rate. Yep, that's true. Yeah, Karen, please message Joyce. Would love to know what Jeff Castleton's suicide note said. Me too, Katrina. Unchained Melody says, Mara's father seems to sincerely not know where she is. I also think she just ran away. She might come clean someday and show back up. I hope that too. I don't want Mara Murray to be dead or anything. I have no interest. I have no dog in that fight at all. At all. My problem is that I think too many people have gotten emotionally involved in it, and they'd rather be right and her be dead than they be wrong and she's alive. I think that's where it's gotten to with some people in that case, and that is going too far. I think most are not abductions, but rare are claimed to be mostly, in my honest opinion, to harm other parent. Yeah. To make the other parent. That's a good point too, Carrie. Sometimes parents do that to hurt the other parent. Yeah. That's certainly true. And the family court system sucks. That's right. Jill, you're welcome. Answering that question as best I can. Jill, I know with your expertise in the profession that you're in, I know that you know a lot of, about that. Unfound podcast, who is Sheree, says is selfish and absolutely harmful to the child. Katrina says, Amber alerts go off on my phone at night. It just makes me completely jump out of bed. Then you read it's a parent most generally. We don't know the case, but I assume abuse. Carrie says, I think it's sometimes out of desperation. Sheree says sometimes the abuse isn't even factual. Courtney says, Katrina, a little girl was murdered on Valentine's Day by her father that was sent out as an Amber Alert. Very sad, but that's how they found her father. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, as you all know, I don't have kids. I've never been married. I'm a bachelor. What can I say? So I've never been in that situation. I've never had to think about that. Of course, I've dated some women who had kids, and they, of course, told me about relationships they were in that were abusive and things, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. But I think just in general, to the people that run off with their kids and disappear and everything, I think if they think they're curing something, I think they're wrong. So let's get to this Friday's case. It's an interview I just did earlier today. And this happens to be one of those cases that I've been working on for a long time. In fact, I've been working on this case off and on since 2017, later in 2017, and that is the disappearance of Peter Sean Kosky, Kosky. And he went by his name, Sean. He was a 24-year-old from McMinnville, Oregon, who disappeared on September 30th, 2012. Now, when I originally got involved in this case, I had been contacted by a family member who then put me in touch with Sean's mother. And we had a few conversations. I had done a lot of notes on it, had put an interview outline together, but then the interview just didn't come together. Just didn't happen. Those things that happen. Not a lot, but they do. And then just recently, within the last few weeks, I think that it was through Emily Somehow she got back in touch with them. I think what she was doing, I might have been, is we were going through an old list of cases that we had looked at one time, and things have fallen apart one way or the other. But she ended up talking to Sean's sister, Bonnie, who I had never talked to before. And so Emily set things up. I got to talk to Bonnie. I sent her the interview outline that I had originally put together. She looked it over. We talked a little bit about, we went over some things, and then we did the interview today. It's a great interview. The audio for this interview is spectacular. Whatever phone she was using and wherever she was, spectacular audio. Thank you, Bonnie. But that'll be this case for Friday. We're going to call this episode Now They See Him, ... Because this is a situation where Sean was with his cousin, her boyfriend, and another woman at a cabin. And allegedly, the three others went to bed. Sean was still up watching TV. When one of them got up later that night, maybe to go to the bathroom, I don't know, he was gone. And he hasn't been seen since. He personally hasn't been seen since. But a week later, after all of the major searches had been done, one of his sandals was found on the property. And then 3 years later, another sandal that he would have been wearing when he disappeared was found out in the wilderness on this property about a mile away. So the two sandals were found 3 years apart, totally separate from each other. And this is one of those cases where I think that the disappearance has kind of pulled a family apart because of things that went on at the time when the searches were done and since then. Of course, as always, it will be up to you to determine what you think happened. Sean was a kid with a lot of problems. He had epilepsy from an early age. And he didn't manage it that well. As you will hear his sister say, he tried to be just a regular kid, and it didn't work out a lot. He got hit by 3 different cars because of stumbling. He would have a seizure at least once every day. He had a unique kind of epilepsy where medication didn't control it a lot, so he could be on Valium. And unfortunately, he got mixed up in some hardcore drugs too. So he had a lot going on. And when he went up to this cabin, he was going to be there for the weekend. And come Monday, he had disappeared. So that's going to be the case for this Friday. The disappearance of Peter Sean Kosky, an episode that I am calling Now They See Him. And from McMinnville, Oregon, September 30th, 2012. Really good interview. His sister Bonnie is fantastic. And the interview is about, wow. It's it's like an hour and a half long. You get used to these after a while, right? Hour and a half long, something like that. And we cover a lot of material because she was there. She was there right after he disappeared. She took part in the searches. She was there back in 2012. Let's see. Marcus is asking, did I read the NTSB report on the Amazon plane crash? I was going to talk about that. Maybe I will talk a little bit about that before I sign off tonight. I've not read the NTSB report. To my knowledge, they haven't even found the black boxes yet. Carrie says, sounds like the Zoe Campos case. Carrie, that's very observant of you. Very observant. Good, very good thinking on your part. Cherie asks, was he suicidal? His sister says no. We talk about that. Cherie says, I'm sure I need to wait for the episode. Thought I would try. I can answer that. Cross between Zoe and the guy from Arkansas that vanished with friends. You mean Travis Robertson, Carrie? Boy, I can pick that name. Is that one you're thinking? Oregon, busy state, kind of like Texas, Ann says. Ed, I think I read something about Tyler Sicer's sister passing away recently. Was surprised to hear that. Unchained, we talked about that. That happened back in October. I remember exactly where I was when I found out. I was overseeing my sister and her husband and her son and his kids in Orlando, October of last year. This is when my mother was still alive. I remember exactly where I found out about it. Yes, Jessica Curtis. Yes, it's been a few months now, Unchained, but yes. I don't know how she died. That she committed suicide, but I do not know that for a fact. Okay, being that it seemed very hush hush and everything. Jessica, you know, and the thing is, I think I talked to Jessica maybe 3 days before she died, and she was always going, you know, she had a lot of stuff haunting her, and a lot of it had to do with the disappearance of her brother. So yeah, I did know that. Unchained. That happened back in October. Katrina says that I'm aware of a GoFundMe page set up for Thomas Brown, but I have a few people contacting me not wanting to give money to help with Klein. Thoughts? Well, let's talk about Phil Klein. If you didn't see, I posted it in the group, or somebody did, that he has been exonerated from most of the charges from the case in Idaho where they were trying to sue him for defamation and a lot of other things. The judge took a look at the charges and said, none of these are relevant. None of these, I don't see that Phil Klein did anything wrong. I think there's maybe one charge that is still, but there were a bunch of them, and they've been dropped down to like one charge, which, as I remember, didn't seem that serious to me. So I am wondering if people's opinions of him are going to change now that a judge has said that he didn't do anything wrong up there in Idaho. So Katrina, I can't tell you whether to donate to a GoFundMe page or not. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. I don't know. So I really can't. I don't know anything about that so I can't comment. You know, if you want to give money to Penny Brown, Thomas's mother, Penny Meek, actually, then of course I have nothing against that. But a GoFundMe page and all that, I don't know who set it up. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, Unfound says, I was bummed and had just listened to Jessica's interview with you before I read about it. Sorry, I didn't know you discussed it before. It's Unchained. It's been a while. It's no big deal. Steeler fan. There's the Steeler fan. That picture behind you looks like someone is looking over your shoulder. Freaked me out for a moment. That's Johnny Depp. Thank you for the compliment, Steeler fan. Yeah, that's Johnny Depp looking over my shoulder. Pirates of the Caribbean poster. That an ex-girlfriend of mine got signed by him. That's like 15 years ago now. From here, it almost looks like a ghost. Well, that's funny. So Phil Klein, he's been exonerated. I hope, if people are being honest, I hope that their opinion on him changes. I think a lot of people were giving him a hard time because they knew about the Idaho stuff. Well, if the Idaho stuff isn't true, then people should be fair and give him a chance in Thomas's case. Let me talk about Flight 3591. What concerns me, and then I'm going to sign off for the night. And I know that I can't help but talk about plane crashes because I'm an encyclopedia of them. Hey, Lana, what's going on? As I wrote in the group, if you didn't see it, I have a suspicion that they're going to discover that it was spatial disorientation that caused the crash. I don't know anything more than any of you do, but I do know a lot about plane crashes. What concerns me is that the plane that was going north, and it was supposed to stay on that heading because it was coming into land and it was going to eventually circle around. But it started to make what you would call a turn west when it wasn't supposed to. And what happened was, if you watch it, you can watch it like on YouTube or whatever, you can see this plane going along and it starts to turn and it turns and it turns and it turns and it turns. And that turn just becomes more pronounced and more pronounced and more pronounced and more pronounced. And there was no call from the pilots. This is what makes me believe that they didn't even realize that the plane was in a turn. Why was it in a turn? It could be all it takes sometimes is somebody to, if you're on autopilot, nudge the control column a little bit, and some of those autopilot systems will cause the plane to turn. If they're down looking at their manuals and preparing and they had the storm coming, your body is not going to be able to tell you that the plane is turning that slow. Okay, man wasn't meant to fly. Our eustachian tubes and our balance is only meant for 2 dimensions, not 3 dimensions. We're good going side to side, front and back. You start adding in, up and down, our brains get confused. And I really believe that they were so involved worrying about the storm, worrying about the procedures and everything, they didn't realize that for some reason their plane started to turn. And by the time they maybe even realized it, it was too late. That is my prediction. I haven't seen anything that shows like it's terrorism. Could it be pilot suicide? That is a possibility at this point. I don't know any of course, the pilots. Possibility. But I would rule out an explosion or terrorism and most mechanical faults, because it would be something, if it was a mechanical thing, I think that the pilots would have a time at 7,000 feet to call Mayday. I just think they got into something that they didn't realize they were into. And before they knew it, they were going to hit the ground. That's the best I got. Cherie says, it's not Idaho that made me not excited about Klein. Fair enough, Cherie. Justina, Ed, that YouTube channel that butchered the April Pitzer story by visiting the scene, some of the events. Do you remember that? They claim Jessica shared a lot of untalked info with them. I think that guy is a total scam artist. I think that's, I've watched that video that he did for April's case. Complete scam artist. Complete. So after that, I just really don't care. It's sad that they might exploit that for views. That's what some people do, Justino. That's what some people do. Like John Kennedy, F. Kennedy. Yeah, spatial but in John F. Kennedy Jr.'s crash, he never should have been up there. He was not qualified to be flying in the conditions that he was. These pilots, more than qualified to be piloting that 767. They were qualified in all sorts of weather. That doesn't mean they're perfect, though. And if you were to start looking at plane crashes, most plane crashes are pilot error, and a lot of them do have to do with spatial disorientation. Now, for us, to give you an idea of what spatial disorientation is, anytime that you go on some sort of motion simulator ride, it makes you feel like you're accelerating forward and stopping, whereas you're on like a hydraulic thing, you're only moving a few feet. It makes you feel like you're moving several feet, and depending on the kind of ride. Well, through screens and motion, engineers have figured out how to fool our minds to think we're doing something we aren't. Well, also, unfortunately, the way our minds work, things can happen in the space of 3D and our minds not realize that it's happening. And it's so dangerous. That's why pilots are told to rely on their instruments so much. If they don't, that's how you get into those situations. And when they start trusting their feelings instead of the instruments, that's when the problems start. But I'm done playing, pilot instructor tonight. But there you go. This was quite a show. We covered quite a bit tonight in an hour and 9 minutes. I've talked about my allergies, talked about my personal trainer, Blake, who's in the discussion group now, by the way, the Deborah Asbury poll. We talked about me getting emails about murders and different types of cases, and I'm sorry, I just can't help you. Just talked about Flight 3591. Talked about how we're going to be getting some cases that, I found out about a while ago, and they're just coming to the forefront now. We talked about the movie Gone Baby Gone. I talked about smiley face guys being on Dr. Phil, which I don't get. We talked about Crime Con, which is a great question. Answered a couple questions from Jill and Pamela. We talked about David Perry and Kelly Rothwell's case. Talked about Phil Klein. And then most importantly, we talked about this coming Friday's case, the disappearance of Sean Kosky from McMinnville, Oregon, September 30th, 2012, an episode that I'm calling Now They See Him. That's all I got for tonight. And Cherie, I guess we didn't have any trolls tonight. I guess not. Okay. Well, I'm going to go. I hope everybody... have you checked out the Church by the Sea thrift store in Madeira Beach? No, I haven't. I don't even know what that is, Unchained, unfortunately. Maybe I should know. But I'm going to go. I thank you all for tuning in tonight, my favorite time of the week. And you'll hear me Friday when I talk to Sean Kosky's sister. And then some of you will see me again on Sunday night for the Patreon live show. So good night. Thanks all. Thank you all. Thanks for the great questions. Great discussion tonight. Thanks.